So this is a virtual write-in. My name is Mariah. I'm the director of the Young Writers Program. This is
Freddie. I'm the editorial intern for this season. Sorry.
And
Nina. I am the programs intern for this year.
We're very excited to have them here. This is their first virtual write-in. It was not their fault at all that this happened, unless they carried some bad luck. Virtual write-ins are a space you might already know. Maybe this is your first one. I'll give you a little background. Virtual write-ins are a space where we can come together, form a writing group online, and write to some prompts. We usually chat a little bit about writing, and we try to make sure that we spend some time actually writing and sharing so that it helps us with our writing practice. And it's just fun to hang out with a bunch of writers. Is why I like these things. In November, we focus a lot more on writing. Now it's September, so we're going to do some prep. And we thought a fun way to kick off this first virtual write-in is to do some prompts that are all about coming up with ideas. So if you already have an idea for your novel that you're going to write in November, I'll explain the prompt. You can ignore it and just use the time to write. If you have no idea what you're going to write in November, this is a great place for you to come up with ideas. If you already have an idea but you want to participate anyway in coming up with new ideas, please do that as well. You can't really ever have too many ideas unless you're trying to write about all of them at the same time. Okay, let me check my script to make sure I didn't forget anything, and those technical difficulties threw us off a little bit. If you like writing and tips like this, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Usually we're a little more on top of things. And I also want to call attention to we are doing some special nano prep stuff this year. So you can check, we're going to add the link to the description below the video. If you want to do a lot more prep getting ready for November, you can follow that link and we have a lot of resources for you. So we're looking forward to that. Okay, I feel like that was really fast. I was trying to catch up on all that lost time. I guess I should first say hello. I'm so excited to see a lot of familiar names in the chat. So I'm so excited to catch up with you guys. I haven't been on a virtual write-in in a while. And if we have no major questions and no more major technical difficulties, maybe we can get started with our first prompt. Okay. So this whole VWI, virtual write-in, we're going to do prompts to come up with ideas. Here's the first one. I like to call it borrow a plot. If you like fan fiction, might be up your alley. I don't write fan fiction, but I use this to come up with my 2012 NaNoWriMo novel, the only time I ever reached 50,000 words. So I like this idea generating thing. Okay, it has two parts. We're going to spend about 3 to 4 minutes on each part. And at the end of it, you should have some ideas that you could write about or add to your NaNo novel or write later. Okay, so prompt 1, part 1. I lost it. Okay, borrow a plot. First, we're going to write a summary of 1 to 3 books or movies or stories that you love. Include the important characters, major plot turns, and maybe the setting. So here's my example. A teenage girl lives in a dystopian world where the USA has been divided into 13 districts, and every year, children are chosen from each district to fight to the death. The teenage girl volunteers to fight in place of her sister. She tries to survive while also protesting against the evil capital and maybe falling in love. So that was
Hunger Games.
Okay, I did a good enough job. So just really basic. It's not that long. Just don't try to write everything. Just try to write the basics. Important characters, major plot turns, and setting. And I'll copy that into the chat. We're going to spend, let's see, we'll do maybe 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how long we need on this first part, because the second part's a little more fun. All right. So I did Hunger Games. I'm going to try one for Star Wars right now. Let's do maybe one more minute. I wrote a summary for Star Wars and realized I didn't remember it that well. So I'm going to do another one, a book that I've read recently that I liked. Okay, 5 seconds.
Such a pleasant timer.
I know. Normally we say, okay, stop and share in the chat. I'm not going to say that right now because that was a part 1. I'm more excited to share the part 2. So I'm going to give you the part 2 of that prompt, and then when that timer goes off, we'll share in the chat. So here's the part 2. We wrote some summaries of stories or novels or movies we love. And then for the second part, you're going to take those summaries and start changing around different parts. So the characters, the setting, different plot turns, even just different adjectives, ages of characters, verbs, anything else you like. See where those changes take you and keep writing when you get inspired. So here's an example. But no, okay, this was an example I was coming up with for this prompt. So I would be ready. And I actually really fell in love with this idea. So don't steal it because I think I might write about it. Okay, so I had the Hunger Games, right? Here's where I started changing things around. A teenage girl lives in a future, so I kept that part, where the oceans have risen and everyone lives on small islands. The water is controlled by pirates, so that's kind of like the capital, by pirates who demand a sacrifice each year to keep the island safe. The girl is chosen as a sacrifice, but in a storm, she's rescued by a different kind of pirate ship, one made up of former would-be sacrifices who act as pirates against the pirates. And then I just kind of kept going, and the idea just like started taking strange turns. And if someone asked me where did that come from, I would be like, honestly, it came from me taking the summary of the Hunger Games and just switching around parts, keeping some parts, changing some parts, and then letting my imagination follow what excited me.
Where did the islands come from?
They're like what's left of Earth after all the oceans have risen.
No, what did that come from a different summary? Or was that?
Oh no, that was like
mashing stuff up, or was it
no,
just...
that was all that. But I was thinking about how in Hunger Games it's different districts, and in this one it's like different islands. But again, after a certain point, you just kind of go with like the idea, and it stops. I might even change some of things around once I think more about it. But it just was like a spark that started that fire for me. Okay, so we're gonna take 5 minutes, pick one summary. And see where it takes you, changing things around. If you get bored with it, pick a different summary. Don't feel afraid to like take strange turns. It's September, like if we have time, go as wild as you want. Ready, set, go. And like we said before, if you already have an idea or if this doesn't speak to you, just use the next 3 minutes to write whatever you feel like. Like look at your idea, write more about it. This is just some time to write together. You never have to do the prompt. Got about 2 minutes left. And if you're not sure what we're doing, you can always check the description below the video too. We keep that updated with our prompts. All right. Go ahead and stop your last thing. And now if you have something you'd like to share in the chat, you could drop in how many words you wrote. You could drop in the ideas that you came up with and you twisted around the plot of something you liked. You could share something totally different because maybe you weren't doing the prompt. This is your time to just share, and we'd love to call out some cool ones we see. What about you guys? Did you come up with? Did you do the prompt?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Sometimes I don't do it, so I feel like it's always an option. Does anyone want to share what they were coming up with?
Sure. So I took Star Wars, Y tu mamá también, and Mad Max Fury Road, and mashed them all up and kind of reshuffled the pieces into a story about two farm boys who are in love on a desert planet and attach themselves to a warrior princess to escape from the farm planet, and they get chased after by their extended violent families in a pursuit that takes them across a crazy sci-fi galaxy.
Oh my God! Write it. I'll read it.
I know, right?
That's the problem with these is like I hear things from people and I'm like, oh my God, I want to read that right now.
I like the kind of process of like discovering like the reshuffling of the pieces. Like I originally had the farm boys rescuing a princess, and I was like, that's too close to Star Wars. It's like, what if, like their Obi-Wan or whatever is like a warrior princess, etc.
That's cool. What did you want to share with?
So for mine, I basically did a take on A Walk to Remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually have it here. Basically, I had 2 girls meet at their school play. One's in the technical theater department, and then the other, who was supposed to be, I can't remember his name, but the bad guy or the delinquent in Oh Watch I Remember, it's the actual actor. And so they both meet, they both grow this friendship, and then the technical theater girl finds out that the actress is actually destined to leave in 10 days to go on a space program where she's going to be basically like a test model in a deserted planet or something like that. And so the technical theater girl is basically trying to do everything in her power to create this separate world for the both of them to escape to. I know.
That sounds great. Okay. These are all very exciting, and I'd like to read them, please. So now write them. And to share a couple things from the chat, we've got Heather, who says, a young girl goes on a search to find her missing family while staying safe from the evil ruler trying to capture her family. And she has to find them before the evil dude does. I saw that Rosa and Rachel is maybe going to do a version based on Pokemon Y, which sounds really cool. Is that a game? I'm dating myself, aren't I?
It's like a game,
100 years old. But I didn't mention it basing something on a game, but you could totally do that for a novel. Josh Lovelace says, the seafaring Muslim trade prince from Oman makes a voyage to Mindanao, but is betrayed by his peers and left on an island. He swears revenge and learns to integrate into the local culture. And let's see, there's another one. There's so many good ones. Okay. Violet says, a young man finds a strange ruined studio full of strange characters, and when he's injured and gets lost, these inky characters help him out.
That's cool.
That's very, very cool. One thing I'm doing too, and maybe you're doing this, is kind of guessing where it came from originally, because you feel like you're copying, so it would be obvious, but it's actually not, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, Amara says, 12 daughters of high officials keep disappearing in a small village in India. While the village has been known to be blessed by God and has magical elements, no one has ever experienced anything like that. And it was inspired by 12 dancing princesses. Catherine, who is our communications manager, did her whole novel last November inspired by 12 dancing princesses.
Wow.
And is really into the idea, and I think she's going to continue it this November. And it all started with that story. And that said, it went in a totally different direction from yours. So that's really cool. Oh my gosh, please write all these because I would love to read them. Okay, so I'm sorry. I feel like we're rushing a little bit, but we started 15 minutes late, and we were gonna only do 45 minutes. So I'm trying to fit in everything. Normally we're a little bit more relaxed, unless it's November, and then we're like, oh my God, something relaxed. Everybody write. So I think maybe let's move on to our next prompt, so we have a little bit of time to share. And also just thank you, everyone who was waiting for that other virtual write-in. And I was worried about the technical problems, and I was a little upset that you were waiting, but I also felt really confident that no one would be we have such a kind and supportive community, and you're so funny. And when we were in there talking about technical difficulties, everyone was just so supportive and funny. So thank you for being there for us, even when our computers are pew, pew, pew. Okay, so our next prompt, and I'll try to put it in the chat as well because there's some links involved in this one. So again, we're coming up with ideas. You might have just come up with an idea like I did where you're like, dang, I'm going to write that because I love it. And that's fine. You could use the next 10 minutes or 5 minutes of this sprint to just write more about it because you know that you love that one and you just want to keep moving forward with it. That's fine. It's great even. If you're not quite sure about any of those ideas and you want to try another way to come up with ideas or just experiment, I'm going to post a link into the chat right now. There's some links in it. Oops, it's too big for the chat, obviously. Could have figured that out. So I'm going to share some links to photos. And when I share them, you can follow the links. They're just some sites that have a lot of strange photos on them, of landscapes. And so instead of borrowing a plot, for this one, we're going to kind of take a landscape or a world and build a story from that, or come up with some ideas from that. So scroll through the photos that I'm about to share until you find one or more that spark something for you. And then pause and write down your questions, your wonderings, your ideas. What kind of place is it? How did it get this way? Who's traveling or living in it or through it? How do they feel? What is it like for them? What kind of challenges do they face? Paste that as well. And here are the links. Oops, are they going to become links? Great. There's a link to a bored panda, abandoned places, with a bunch of wild photos. There's some photos from rough guides of real places in the world that are just very strange looking. And some travel triangle. And just so this person's name who I can't read, AK Style 11 says, ooh, I need some inspo for the alien planet. This is really going to be useful. Totally. If you already know your plot, but you're like, I could look at some places and figure stuff out from it, definitely look. We find inspiration everywhere. Okay. I'm going to set my timer for maybe 7 minutes. And in those 7 minutes, find a picture that inspires you. And you can think about the questions like, what kind of place is it? How did it get this way? Who lives here? How do they live here? It could be an alien world, or it could be, a totally normal setting as well. Okay, ready, set, go. And I'll show you the image I'm going to use. If I can show you, I thought, no, it's going to be weird, but this one of like, you can find it's on Rough Guides. It's like a red lake and a blue lake with green in between.
I couldn't figure out what that was.
You have about 2.5 minutes left. I started writing about a photo, but then I got too excited and went back to my original idea, so just full disclosure. About 30 seconds. Blah, 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 blah. Blah. Okay, so go ahead and finish what you're writing. And cool, so you can drop your idea that you came up with into the chat. You can drop how many words you wrote. You can drop which one of those activities was more useful for you, or if you have another great way to come up with ideas for a novel, you could drop that in as well. I started writing about a place, and then I just went back to the idea that I'd come up with before because I was super into it, and I kind of wanted to keep rolling with that energy, so that's what I did. Did you do it?
I actually continued on to the story that I was originally writing. So I took that time to kind of delve a little bit more into the idea of a twisted version of A Walk to Remember.
Cool. And did you?
I used one of the pictures to make like the setting of the first scene of the story I came up with.
Oh, that's cool. Which picture?
It was the one of the. Let me find it. It was the one of the Goblin Valley State Park. Ones with the weird round rocks and stuff.
That's so cool.
Eroded by wind and water to form strange pinnacles. So in my story, I have them being like alien creations.
That's cool.
And then the farmers think that it's wind and water.
That's so cool. I'm going to share something Devin McConnell put in the chat. A woman plants a huge tunnel of foliage around the now abandoned train tracks, still waiting for her husband to return from battle on the train. No one knows why she still waits except the plants. Mm-hmm. And that one sounds like it was inspired by a place, and it's also very interesting. Mm-hmm. We've got, I just lost it. Oh no, there it is. Rafiq Hassan says, a group of young friends from a small island have their lives disrupted when some bandits raid their village. In the aftermath, the village council decided that a select few will need to go across the sea to the unknown land beyond in order to find a potential ally to help to defend them from future raids. Again, I would read that. Please write that. Thank you. David Hurley wrote about 1,000 words. Mm. Hannah Crenshaw says she's got her plot written out on Post-it notes all over her floor, and she just found some scenes are missing. That's the danger of Post-it notes, I guess. Mm-hmm. You'll find it. Oh my gosh, you guys are sharing such amazing things. I wish I could read all of them. I hope other people are reading through the chat too. And Rafiq says that was from the pink water picture. That's such a good picture. I think so too. And see, I'm trying to look for a new name. Rebecca Dugas says, I used the image from Namibia of a blue house filled with sand. This inspired a post-climate change apocalypse story of a young girl trying to find a box of valuables her grandmother left in the house. Again, I'll read that. So we have a couple more minutes. We're going to end a little early. We were just going to do about a 45-minute VWI today. So we started a little late and we're ending a little early. So sorry. I hope you got some ideas. It sounds like you did. So I'm excited. I'm excited by all of these. I hope you are too. And just before we leave, I thought I would ask you guys, do you have ideas for November novel?
I do.
You do? Do you have an idea too?
I do. It's kind of spurring off of something I was already thinking about.
How do you normally come up with ideas? You guys can answer too. How do you normally come up with ideas?
That first exercise kind of reflects how I do things. Like when I'm looking for a new idea, I'll just dip into a bunch of things that I know that I like or that I think that I'll like movies and books and comics that I've enjoyed. I'll just start reading them all like kind of close to one another until they kind of bleed together. And that tends to produce something.
That's cool. There's an activity in Ready, Set, Novel that we borrowed for our Nano prep materials, which I'm also going to include a link to because there's a lot more idea generating things. Plus we're going to do stuff with characters and plot and just kind of everything to get ready for November is going to be on our Nano Prep 101 page. So I'll share that link here. But one of the activities we borrowed from Ready, Set, Novel is you literally just make a list of all the things that are interesting to you, like samurai, kittens, cupcakes, travel, outer space, Star Wars, and you circle 3 randomly, and you come up with 3 randomly, and you try to see how you could pull a story out of that. So
samurai, cats, and cupcakes is already a good story.
I mean, right? Or I really like ghosts, and once I had ghost detective stories and a dog, and it was about a detective who's dead, but his dog is alive, and his dog's going to help the ghost of the detective solve the murder.
That's good.
I know. And it's just by taking 3 things, making a list, picking 3 random things, and then seeing what your brain comes up with. Brains are amazing.
Sure are.
So thank you so much for coming. The next virtual write-in is going to be, it's on our calendar. It's we're going to be doing them Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time, so the same time except on time usually. And we're going to be doing them every other week leading up to October. And then once we're in October, we're going to kind of be doing them every week. And in November, we'll be doing them every week as well. Anything else we forgot to say? Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can click, where's the button? It's underneath. It's here. So click the button over here on your screen if you want to subscribe. And thank you for coming. We said that. I was afraid I'm forgetting something.
Notifications. You can click the bell. Is that something YouTubers say?
I don't know. I'm not a big. This is the only YouTube I know.
Yeah.
So I'm not like Tim, who when he does virtual write-ins, he's like, smash the subscribe button because he knows the lingo a little more.
Right. We'll click the bell and see what happens.
And at the live chat will still be up, but you won't be able to chat in it. So if you have any extra comments, just add them to and comment on the video once it's up, and we'll look at them. So thank you so much. We hope to see you at the next one, and please visit our Nano Prep page to keep getting ready for November. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Now this is the awkward part where we end the stream. You can look up my nose. Yes, please end it. Great.